Hey guys, so it is my last day here in South Korea. I've been here for 3 months now until my visa ran out, and it's been an extremely interesting and privileged time. It's definitely a privilege that I'm able to escape from Corona, from countries that are undergoing some socio-political turmoil right now, such as in the Philippines and America. Just to reiterate on episode 1 of this Stuck in Seoul Corona series, one of the whole reasons why I came out to South Korea was because I wanted to give my friend who owns a restaurant here some Philippine products. This episode is going to be a treat where I will be dining at his restaurant with a friend of mine. And in this episode, I want to talk about something that I think intersects food with culture, which is basically fine dining. Of course, it's a bougie thing, but it is, in my opinion, too, something that is very artistic and cultural. In the Philippines, for example, the most famous fine dining Filipino restaurant in Manila is called Toyo. And Jordy does an extremely excellent job at really promoting Filipino food in a new way to Filipinos, but also to a foreign palate, which at the end of the day, I think is very helpful in terms of tourism, because people nowadays are coming to eat as one of the reasons for travel. And so for me, when you think of Europe and America too, fine dining is kind of integrated into that culture of local produce and local craftsmanship and local culture. But by going to my friend's restaurant here, I kind of want to introduce a segue in Korean fine dining, because through Korean fine dining we can find parallels with Filipino fine dining. Because the market for fine dining in Korea is still relatively young, my friend Sung has definitely told me similar troubles that I could foreshadow or foresee happening in the Philippines as well. But at the end of the day, the whole reason why I want to make this episode or talk about this and show you guys this whole thing is because food is culture, and when you have people such as my friend Sung who really loves Korean food and wants to portray it to the rest of the world, that can act as a very important and powerful catalyst to really allow foreigners and people unfamiliar with a country, let alone their cuisine, let them know more about their country through their food, which is essentially what I'm trying to do with this whole Chad the Filipino thing. There's so many different types of Filipino food out there that I do not know about and my parents don't know about. And I hope through the videos that I make back in the Philippines and the ones I've already made, you learn more about the stuff we have, because there's so much to discover. So, bon appetit. I hope you enjoy.
네,
맞아요. 네, 친구가 아직
예, 아직
있어요.
예,
네.
먼저 기다리시죠. 자리에서 기다리시죠.
네. So man, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. Leaving tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah. 8 p.m.
That's it?
Yeah.
How's Korea been?
It's been fun. It's been fun. Definitely picked up.
Stay a while, stay here for a while.
Yeah, 3 months. Definitely.
I mean, it's not a long time, but it's
Right. It's like a nice taste.
kind of get to know more, like in depth.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, which one do you want to start with? Okay. Give me an inchiki.
It's only the beginning.
I know, but 2 of your favorite things: abalone and lime, and tacos.
Wow, I guess 3.
Oh, true.
Just one bite.
You can take it in 1 bite. It's tender enough that you can take it in 2. Isn't it hype or what? One of the things we wanted to do was like showcase Korean seafood. And so I didn't know like abalone or jeonbuk is hype in Jeju. I really like the sauce on this one. Wow, is this fried guinea? It's pretty good, eh? Wow, are you ready for this? No, it's my favorite so far. This is really good. The texture on this one is like 10 out of 10. How do you feel about it? Feels more Korean-ish in a way. Because you have like
I guess,
Jordan.
yeah, in a
Jordan
way,
in a way.
in a way.
For me, I wouldn't pin this as like Korean. off the bat.
There's also a range of chunks and things on green. There are actually ones that where you fry first and then you cook, simmer. There's
Qualifies that
ones
one.
that are more like softer, like the textures we've had so far.
I mean, I was like unaware of the technique before this.
We really should have had kai chijorim.
Oh,
I think kai chijorim is one of those. There's like a contrast between the texture of the fish itself.
I think the texture is like so buttery, so silky. It's like the silk road on my tongue. Like the fish we just had before was like really flaky, really perfectly cooked. Had like that nice crispy tempura skin. But this is just like I'm pretty hyped about this one. This is definitely gonna wow, this is like the dirtiest naengmyeon you can ever have. This is what I've been waiting for.
We're there.
We're there. Oh, this is like a crowd favorite apparently. I think he was telling me that like he took this off the menu once and people like complained.
But this is like easily likable. Hard to hate.
It's very hard to hate this.
Yeah.
I think the acorn noodles make it familiar. Also gives it like that texture. But also it's just like dirty. It's like Korean carbonara. So refreshing. Oh, it's hard. It's harder than I expected. Finished dinner, 3 hours long. I'm full out. Bleep. Yeah, so I think just for some context, we went to 2 different bougie Korean fine dining places. Okay, but anyway, you were saying that like Mosu is the kind of place, if you know the story about it. As I was saying earlier, it's Korean, but it's not explicitly Korean, you know? And I definitely get that because I know, you know, the history of my friend Sung. One of the things he told me like 3 years ago is that he had to learn how to cook for like a Korean palate while still maintaining his own authenticity, cooking Korean fusion food. Mingles is like, you can take it as is.
A lot more from just the food itself, whereas Mosu, I guess in a way, complexity, in another way, harder to kind of make out the story just from the food.
Right. Because when we were at Mingles, it definitely was more straightforward Korean. I mean, from my perspective as like a foreigner.
Yeah, it was more obvious interpretation.
How would one portray cultural influence in a fine dining setting more to be more appealing to you as like a consumer, as someone that's more familiar with like the food from birth, and me as someone trying to like find out more about the culture through the food? What other means or details could they add to make the cultural aspect come a lot more transparent or profound experience to the diner, as opposed to like, oh, this fish is from this place in southern South Korea, blah blah blah, you know, like this is like really local, this is really seasonal.
I like a little more context about the food, like the cultural significance behind it, history, or any other like traditional ways that it's prepared or how it's been readapted or interpreted. Knowing more about that, it doesn't necessarily have to be them literally standing by your table and explaining it to you. Kind of, like Mingles was more straightforward about that. But that's me personally. Someone already with that kind of depth of knowledge, that kind of knowledge, would experience this differently. Maybe they think this is a very, not just local fresh ingredients, but yeah, very
pedantic in a way.
I can taste a lot more and experience a lot more if I know more about it.
While fine dining is a treat and an experience in itself, the chefs who own these restaurants are doing something special The food they make is not only a reinterpretation of whatever nationality's food they are cooking, but also acts as a way for people to understand that culture through their food. Dishes could be reimagined to capture a foreign audience and also change the perspective of how those local nationals view a certain dish. So to me, fine dining is not only something you consume for an experience, but also a way to learn about another country's agriculture and food culture. So if you're in the Philippines and want to try some examples of Philippine fine dining, the one that's most famous that I mentioned in the beginning of the video is called Toyo. But because of them, they kind of created a demand and viability for young, talented Filipino chefs to make their own restaurants and showcase Filipino food in their own way. So if you're curious about that and living in the Philippines, check the description box below and I'll include some of my personal favorite places that are doing Filipino food in a new and imaginative way. Thank you.